Department of State says Tim Linderking visits the Gulf to push for new peace agreement in Yemen. Countries around the globe mark International Workers' Day today. Houthis release senior government military commander after 8 years in detention. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is Danish Consumer Shazad Delbey. The U.S. State Department announced that Tim Linderking to visit the Gulf on Monday to push peace efforts in Yemen. In addition, according to the statement, Linderking will meet with Yemeni, Omani, Saudi, and other international partners in an attempt to urge warring parties to agree on a new peace deal. Linderking's visit came after Saudi and Omani delegations arrived in Sana'a last month and held direct talks with the Houthis to reach a permanent ceasefire. Countries around the globe mark World Labor Day today. This report has more details.
A large number of workers and activists globally marked the World Labor Day, which lies on the 1st of May, with rallies calling for high salaries, reduced working hours, and other better working conditions. Labor Day is observed in many countries as a day to celebrate workers' rights with rallies, march, and other events. This year's events had bigger turnouts than in previous years as COVID-19 restrictions were drastically loosened and opposition centered on how government's economic plans will affect workers. In France, unions plan massive demonstrations to protest to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. Organizers see the pension reform as a threat to hard-fought worker rights and France's social safety net. The pension bill unleashed France's biggest protests in years, and the May 1 rallies are expected to be among the largest yet. In South Korea, tens of thousands of people attended various rallies in its biggest May Day gatherings since the pandemic began in early 2020. The two main rallies in the capital were expected to draw about 30,000 people each, according to organizers. Rally participants in South Korea accused the conservative government of clamping down on some union members in the name of reforming their alleged irregularities, demanding more transparent accounting records of labor unions and an end to alleged illegal practices by some union members and workers in the construction sector. In Tokyo, thousands of labor union members, opposition lawmakers, and academics demanded wage increases to offset the impact of rising costs, as their lives are still recovering from the damages of the pandemic. In war-ravaged Yemen, the condition is even worse, as people have been burdened with the brunt of the conflict, doubled with their suffering of salaries cut off.
In Yemen, workers are facing difficult conditions because of the war that destroyed the country. In Taiz, the blockade has worsened the suffering of workers. This report has more details.
On the morning of the annual Labor Day, Jalal Hazza and his forces woke up heading towards the workers' quarters in Bab Musa, roundabout in the middle of the city. Jalal is lying on the sidewalk waiting with great eagerness for a job opportunity, hoping that it will help him meet most of the needs of his family and overcome the life-related challenges. Jalal is one of the millions of Yemeni workers who work in various sectors. The Houthi militia war changed their lives upside down. It is estimated that about 70% of Yemeni workers support families estimated at millions of members. They lost their jobs as a result of the war that has been going on for 9 years. For them, there is nothing to celebrate.
We are not in a place to celebrate this occasion. There are no job opportunities. Our conditions are really bad. We're always looking for jobs as we have no money at all. We can't afford getting our needs or pay the rent, and we've families that we need to support. Our situation is getting worse day after day with no available solutions.
The labor market is overflowing with concealed unemployment, and workers suffer from a complete void due to the scarcity of work and the cessation of some of them, which increase the suffering of workers in the city who are looking for the causes of a decent life and the savior of the country from drowning.
Today is the Labor Day. What celebration are they talking about? I'm a driver and I'm struggling a lot. The fuel is very expensive. Our country is under a blockade. Most of the roads are closed, with checkpoints everywhere. How are we supposed to work amid these conditions? We are trapped here.
The war has multiplied the tragedies and pains of the workers on their annual feast day, which is occurring in a completely different circumstances from the previous one.
The General Federation of Yemen Trade Unions affirmed that the working class in the country is living in difficult living conditions. It called on all workers to confront those who have taken their rights. The statement came in the celebration of the Workers' Day, which falls on the 1st of May every year. A recent survey carried out by Yemen's Central Department of Statistics indicated that more than 50% of child workers perform dangerous work. Data from a pre-war survey about child labor in Yemen gathered by the country's statistics agency and UNICEF showed that 1.6 million, or 21% of children between the ages of 5 and 17 in Yemen are employed.
أبي مات في شارع 40 دحين أنا أشقى على أسرتي مع باقي اللي أنا أصرف عليهم كل شيء. أنا اسمي أنس غصيب سيف، عمري 12 سنة. أنا أشتغل بورشة حديد من الساعة 7 للساعة 6. أحيانا أسرع، أحيانا أقص، أحيانا أرنق، أحيانا أنقش، أي حاجة أنا أعمل. لا الساعة لما تبدأ الساعة 6 أوقف. أنا وقفت الدراسة علشان ما فيش أحد يشقى على أسرتي. أدرس أخواني الباقي منهم 4 وأنا الخامس. أحلم إن أفتح ورشة أبي وأشقى على أسرتي وأمدي لهم مصاري وأدرس أخوتي الآخر الجامعات وأطبخوا أي شيء.
UN envoy Hans Grunberg welcomed the release of Major General Faisal Rajab. He called on all parties to release all detainees according to the principle all for all. Houthi militia released him after 8 years in detention. This report has more details.
Yemeni military leader Major General Faisal Rajab was released unilaterally by the Iranian-backed Houthi organization on Sunday, 8 years after his incarceration. The release of Rajab is mandated by United Nations Security Council Resolution 2216. He was apprehended by the Houthis in 2015 during their attempt to seize Aden, currently the temporary capital. UN envoy to Yemen Hans Grunberg welcomed the release, tweeting, "I appeal to all parties to build on the progress achieved and intensify the efforts to release all detainees based on the all-for-all principle as stipulated in the Stockholm Agreement." The government reacted cautiously, claiming that the Houthis were only seeking to strengthen their image and strike a rift between their adversaries. According to the Houthis, Rajab was released at the request of their leader, Abdul Malik al-Houthi. In the build-up to his release, Houthi media had claimed that the government had abandoned him during the latest prisoner swap negotiations. The government denied such allegations. Government supporters labeled the release theatrics, but they applauded the move and urged the Houthis to release thousands more prisoners. A delegation of 4 tribes from Rajab's Abiyan region traveled to the Houthi-held Sana'a to arrange his release with the group. According to the government, the move was meant to improve the Houthis' image. According to Houthi spokesman, Rajab was released to honor the tribal delegation. Abdul Basit Al-Qaidi, Undersecretary at Yemen's Information Ministry, revealed that the governor of Abyan was appointed by the Houthis, and every member of the tribal delegation that was in Sana'a is insignificant and has no influence. He stated the Houthis had refused to release Rajab in the latest prisoner swap. He accused the Houthis of lying when they claimed that the government had disregarded Rajab and did not negotiate his release during the latest swap.
The Yemeni government said it could suspend its negotiations with the Houthi militia regarding the file of detainees in the event that the group continues its refusal to disclose the case of Mohammed Qahtan. The spokesman for the government negotiating team on the file of detainees, Majid Fadayel, said the government team had agreed with the Houthis that there would be a new round of negotiations by mid-May. He stressed that the failure to respond to the government's demands will push the government to suspend negotiations with the Houthis. Unknown gunmen carried out an armed ambush, targeted military leaders and sheikhs in south of Abyan. Sources reported that armed elements showered the convoy with bullets while the guards of the convoy responded to the sources of fire. The sources did not indicate if there were casualties as a result of the ambush, and no party claimed responsibility for the attack. Coming next in the news. In Lahj, farmers of jasmine spread around the city during summer season. Welcome back. In Lahj, a portion of the land is covered with jasmine flower as the warm summer weather encourages the growth of jasmine flower. On special occasions such as weddings or graduation ceremonies, the white flowers are displayed. This report has more details.
Many Yemeni families rely on the sale of the Arabian jasmine flowers grown in Lahj as a source of income. Yemeni women use it during weddings and social gatherings both inside and outside the governorate of Lahj, where it is also used in traditional rituals and fragrances. Every morning before sunrise, farmers set out to harvest the aromatic flowers. Ali, a veteran farmer, begins her day's work picking jasmine flowers, as their powerful fragrance wafts far across the fields in Al Husseini farms.
We started farming when we were children and have been in the field for 40 years. Jasmine flowers provide us with a consistent source of daily revenue, and we export to various governorates, like Aden and Taiz, and even countries such as Saudi Arabia.
The governorate of Lahj produces the most jasmine bloom in Yemen, which is exported to other governorates and countries. Its cultivation begins in the winter and peaks in the summer, and some households rely heavily on it for income.
Jasmine adds beauty and fragrance to houses. It is present in bouquets at weddings and ceremonies, and women widely wear it for adornment.
Because of its powerful, long-lasting scent, Lahji jasmine is frequently regarded as the best jasmine in Yemen, and the flower is a vital part of Lahji culture and regional identity.
Jasmine is widely prevalent in Lahj Governorate, especially during special occasions. People passing through the governorate often give these flowers to their loved ones.
Sadly, Yemen's prolonged war has had an impact on the agricultural industry, just like it has on other industries. Due to the country's dire conditions and the lack of basic resources, jasmine planting in Lahj has drastically declined.
The Yemeni government announced the attack of an Iranian ship engaged in illegal fishing in local waters of one of the islands in Socotra. The Security Committee of Socotra praised the success of the security and military services in seizing the Iranian ship engaged in illegal fishing and approved the formation of a joint committee of investigation the ship's crew. 4 people drowned after the collapse of a water dam in Al-Mahwit, northwest of Yemen. Media sources said rescue teams of the Civil Defense Authority are continuing to search for missing victims after the collapse of Al-Aqabi Dam. This report has more details.
The administration of the displaced campus in Marib warned of the danger of torrential rains. The warning comes with forecasts by the National Center of Weather expecting thunderstorms in the coming hours in many regions of Yemen. The administration renewed warnings that the camps are not ready to deal with the rains. Seasonal rains in Yemen have affected more than 13,000 camp residents in Marib Governorate, according to the Yemeni government's executive unit for the management of displaced persons camps. This comes while 4 people drowned after the collapse of a water dam in Hufash district of Al-Mahwit, northwestern Yemen. The collapse also caused loss of lands that extended to more than 2 kilometers with a wide of about 100 meters. Media sources said rescue teams of the Civil Defense Authority are continuing to search for the missing victims after the collapse of Al-Aqabi Dam as a result of the torrential rains that the region witnessed in recent days. A report for the United Nations revealed that more than 16,000 families have been affected in several Yemeni governorates as a result of the torrential rains and floods that hit the country. Yemen had witnessed an early rainy season since mid-March, which caused varying degrees of damage to families, homes, and infrastructure. Humanitarian partners reported that torrential rains in some IDP sites swept away the shelters and belongings of the displaced families, including basic materials, food stocks, and water tanks. The United Nations expected that about 603,000 people this year would be severely exposed to the dangers of torrential rains in Yemen. The government appealed for more international aid, while activists called on international organizations to provide care for the affected families, deal with the resulting damage, and repair the flood sewers.
A number of residential neighborhoods in Mansoura district in Aden suffer from overflowing sewage water, causing environmental and the spread of epidemics. In addition, residents confirmed that lakes were formed from dirty water overflowing from the homes, and they called on the concerned agencies to quickly assume their responsibility for implementing drainage networks in the neighborhoods. Here's a reminder of the main headlines. U.S. Department of State says Tim Linder King visits the Gulf to push for new peace agreement in Yemen. Countries around the globe mark International Workers' Day today. Houthis release senior government military commander after 8 years in detention. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.